We're here with Rabbi Lawrence, the second part of a wonderful interview. Please continue.
Thank you. When I came to New York, to Lubavitch, of course, my stereotype of New York was streets paved in gold. Everybody was rich. What a mistake I made.
The Golden
I
Medina.
came into Lubavitch, to Brooklyn in the 60s. I couldn't believe it. It was like walking into a garbage can with sirens. It took me a long time to acclimatize myself. The other thing that I found difficult was just the derech of Lubavitch, and understanding a Rebbe was very difficult because everything I knew before was very different. I'll give you an example. I was sitting in 770 and I was learning with my Chava who came over with me, and Rebbe Mentlik Alav Shalom was the Rosh Yeshiva then, who walks in.
Who was your Chaver? Chavrusa.
It was Levy, Nachman Levy,
Oh,
from South Africa.
okay.
We learned together in Gateshead. Once I decided to go to Lubavitch, he says, "You're going to Lubavitch, I'm going with you."
Right.
So I was sitting and learning with him, and there were two Bochrim sitting and schmoozing next to me, of course, which was not the right thing to do. And Rabbi Mentlik walks in, and I looked, and I went to the Bochrim, "Hey, the Rosh Yeshiva's walking in." And they looked at me and they said, "So what?" And I thought to myself, well, at least pretend you're learning. What they were telling me is, don't fool yourself. And one thing that in Lubavitch and Chassidus teaches, don't fool yourself. Don't think you're a tzaddik, etc.
Holier than thou.
Holier than thou. The first time I saw the Rebbe was at a mincha davening, and I didn't look at the Rebbe directly, but he was sitting at the table where he normally sits. And what they tell me is that he looked at me for a long time.
Huh.
So Mustami, he was trying to remove some of the schmutz that was there.
The spiritual schmutz. The gaiva.
Yeah. After a few months, I had Yechidus with the Rebbe, and I wasn't expecting anything. I walk in, I wrote some questions. I remember one question I asked was, if I'm davening in a minyan and they're davening too fast, what do I do? And the Rebbe says, start Hodu with the minyan and go your own speed. So I do that now. I start Hodu and I finish before them. Now, the strange thing was, and I wasn't expecting anything, I gave the Rebbe the pen. The Rebbe read it, and he had a small pencil that he used to write. When he answered my questions, it was me at the other side of the table. He became me, literally. Now, I wasn't expecting that, I had no clue. But he literally enclosed himself in me. The Rebbe became me. And I looked at him, and I said, what's going on with me? I saw myself at the other side of the table. And after he'd answered my questions, he turned to the side and he started to say things that I didn't understand. I didn't ask those things. And it was connected with Jewish education. Later on, I ran a school, etc. So later on, I understood. But at that time, I didn't understand.
And you say he was faced
And
to
he
the
was faced
side?
to the side towards the wall, just like this. And he was talking. It was going on and on. I never asked him those questions. And
Right.
He was answering. And then I'd asked him for a bracha, no specific bracha. And he said to me, you should get a good shidduch, just like that. So I told my wife, Mustami, he meant you. You should get a good shidduch.
How old were you at the time?
At
22?
the time I was maybe around about 22, 23.
Okay.
I got married in New York.
And your wife was
And
from where?
my wife was originally from a DP camp in Germany. Came to New York. She was teaching in the
in
yeshiva
the
of
Bronx. The Lubavitch Yeshiva there
And-
by Rabbi Oldtime.
Yeah, right. And there was
And
Rabbi
the family name? Auerbach.
Auerbach. They can trace their lineage all the way back to David HaMelech. I can trace my lineage back to my parents.
Okay.
Now,
And who made the shidduch?
there was a Rabbi Aaron Serebransky, and I'm still friendly with him. Unfortunately, he passed away.
Yes,
we were very close.
He was my
He
uncle.
he knew me. He knew my wife because he also taught in the Lubavitch Yeshiva of the Bronx. And
He knew you from
he
7-7.
knew me from. And one day I noticed he was sitting and was looking at me. I thought, well, maybe he's admiring my good looks. I didn't realize he was sizing me up to introduce me to this girl who was teaching at the Bronx. So he introduced us. The rest of history, as they say. We got married. Dr. Bloch, Alav Shalom, who from London, Ontario at that time, he came to 770 looking for a teacher. He started a day school in London, Ontario. So I asked the Rebbe, he said, fine. I went to London, Ontario. And there the rabbi left because they knew me, not that they would hire a Lubavitcher, so they hired me as the rabbi over there, and I was teaching in the school.
Oh, there was a
Etc.
shul there, an Orthodox
It was
shul.
Orthodox shul, yeah.
Out beside, this wasn't under Rebbe Block's
No,
auspices.
no.
So you became the rabbi
Of
there.
the shul.
Yes.
Now, during that time, I was also going. My wife wanted me to go to university, and I said no. Yeah, I'll ask the Rebbe. If he says yes, fine. If not, I'm not going. So I went into Yechidus. I asked the Rebbe. My wife was there. If I should go to university, and the Rebbe said to me, "It's a good idea." So I went to Western, and then later on, 3 years later, I left and I went to university in Toronto and graduate school.
And what did you graduate in? With Jewish education?
No, in psychology. My background was in psychology. Yeah.
And did you see in your career how it helped you?
Oh yes, I saw how a master's degree in psychology, how it helped me get my job later on and helped me because I ran a school. Well, let's come now. So
What year was this Yechidus? Do you remember?
this Yechidus is probably in around about 1970s.
Early
Very
70s.
early 70s.
Okay.
Now I went into Yechidus with my wife again, and in the middle of Yechidus, the Rebbe stopped, looked at me, smiled, and he said, "Are you interested in insurance?" Insurance. So I didn't say anything. My wife said to the Rebbe, "My husband's an insurance salesman." I kept quiet. The Rebbe kept quiet. The Rebbe knew exactly what to say and what not to say. So I forgot about it. Went back, went to university. Eventually,
One second. This, what the Rebbe said about insurance, wasn't the same Yechidus about college? No.
No. This is a different Yechidus.
Later Yechidus.
Later Yechidus.
So the Rebbe said it's a good idea for you to
go to college.
So you went.
So I went.
So
yes.
what later on? Why is he telling you about insurance agents?
So wait. It didn't hit me at the time. And yet the Rebbe said, "Are you in?" No, he didn't say to me, "Go into insurance."
Are you
interested? The Rebbe had a derech that if you didn't do that, I wasn't really going against what he said.
Right.
Are you interested in insurance? No. So I went to university. After university, I left and I came to Toronto. And I continued in graduate school. Now, how do I get into insurance? I'm not going to look for a job in insurance. I was working with kids, emotionally disturbed kids, which actually helped me in insurance. Training agents, I told them that. I've had experience with emotionally disturbed kids. I meet a Lubavitcher in Toronto, Cohen, it's called Cohen, and he's in the insurance industry. And he approaches me and he says he'd like to start a Hebrew school. Fine, get the parents together. We started school. We had 350 children. It went for 14 years.
Wow.
In addition to what I was doing. And then we gave it over to Lubavitch at that time. Now,
right. Now, what's up? Stop. I'm going to ask you a question.
Yes.
Were you a practicing psychologist during this time as well?
I was working with psychologists, yes, with emotionally disturbed kids.
So that was your bulk of your livelihood, of your parnosa?
That's what I was doing, yes.
Yes. So this Talmud Torah thing was just a volunteer.
No, I was paid. I was a principal. We actually built it up.
So you had two businesses at the same time?
Two jobs at the same time. I was going from one to the other. People in the one job didn't know I was going to another job.
I understand.
Now, how do we get into insurance? You see, Hashgacha Pratis, amazing Hashgacha Pratis. So I was traveling with it. The school I was working at the time with the psychologists, I was traveling to a different town, and in the winter it was difficult. And I said to this individual that I started the school with, I said, you know, I'm going to this other town, it's difficult. And I didn't say for any reason. 2 weeks later, he said to me, you know, a job opened up in my company, insurance company. If you're interested, you can have it. I thought to myself, insurance? Why? It's a different field. I'm not in insurance. 2 weeks later, he said a job opened up in his department, the actuarial department. If I'm interested, I can have it. And suddenly it hit me. Why did the Rebbe say 3 years earlier?
Are you interested in insurance?
I said, you know what? The Rebbe wants me to do that. So I quit my job, Went into his company, started really learning everything, etc., etc. I used to write policy pages, and I used to write their manuals and everything.
So I assume that this new job was a better paying job than the previous position?
It was.
It was.
But that wasn't the reason that I went.
Why did you take it? Because you felt
Because the Rebbe wanted me to do.
And so, which job did you quit? The Talmud Torah or the psychology?
No, the psychology job. Talmud Torah we kept on because that was important.
Yeah.
When I went into in the insurance, it was called Confederation Life. They didn't know I had a school. They didn't know I was running a school.
Why they wouldn't?
Because it wasn't allowed. If you had a full-time job, you couldn't get another job.
Oh.
So, but they did notice that I was leaving every day at 4:00 on the dot, but didn't know where I was going, because I was going to catch a bus in order to go to the school.
Wow. And you were the principal.
And I was the principal. I developed the curriculum and everything.
And 350 students.
And of course, we attracted because they saw that the principal has a master's degree
in education.
I said, that's easy. They did help. Now, very strange thing happened in the company. Many things. And for this one story, it's worth it that I was in there. After I'd been in the company 2 months, I was giving a shir during lunchtime, Gemara shir, and people came from around. One day, a guy I had never seen before approached me and he said, somebody just joined the company and he'd like to come to your class. Fine. Introduce me. I go to the guy. No way he would have known about my class. He wasn't religious. And so I said to him, I give a class in Talmud. You don't have to know anything. I explained. He said, I'll speak to my wife. I thought to myself, I'll forget it. It's probably his wife will say, these Mishagoyim, you're going to go with them. So next day I went to him and I said, what did your wife say? And he said, she thinks it's a good idea. He started to come once a week, twice a week, three times a week. I was able to get in, start learning Tanya a little bit at the end. And his whole family became religious. Sent his kids to Jewish schools. And one day I said to him, do you know the guy that introduced us? Did you know him? He said, no, I never saw him. And I never saw him again. So who was he? Could have been Eliyahu Novi, could have been, etc. Anyway, so we had I saw many Nissim in the company.
So one second. So are you intimating that he saw the Rebbe in a dream or something?
No.
So how did he know about you and that you're giving a Talmud class?
Because the guy, whoever he was, I guess from heaven they wanted this guy to become religious. They saw that. The Rebbe saw this.
Right.
Personally. And so therefore some guy came and introduced us, who I don't know who he was. This guy doesn't know who he was. We never saw him again. Now, if it would have been a regular guy, wouldn't he have come back to me and said, what happened?
Yeah, of course.
No. Never saw him again.
Wow. So what you're saying is from the Rebbe's, are you interested in insurance?
Yeah.
That led ultimately to this person and his family becoming from people.
Yeah, the whole family became religious.
That's wonderful.
Now, and I had many, I used to write to the Rebbe in the company for non-Jews too. Now, after that, I moved to another company because this company, the government shut them down. That's another story. I went into another company, Mutual of Omaha, and I had they did not allow you to put anything on your desk. Once you left, that to be clear. But I had a big picture of the Rebbe on my desk.
Well, what's the reason for this policy?
They just wanted it clear, whatever the reason they...
Okay.
But I had a big picture of the Rebbe on my desk.
Okay.
And whenever anybody saw it, they'd say, who's that? I'd say, sit down and tell them stories of the Rebbe. One time, they never asked me to remove the picture, by the way. One time, a woman there, she tells me, elderly woman, she wasn't Jewish, she was a nice lady, and she tells me her mother's having a leg amputated a week on Friday. She's been in the hospital for maybe 5 months, 6 months. All they're doing is changing the bandages. That's all. So I gave her a book on the Rebbe. And she says, thank you. By the way, nobody ever said to me, it's not my religion. Whether it's a Sheva Mitzvah, etc. Gave her a book on the Rebbe. And I said, I'll write to the oil. This was after giving Tammuz. I'll write to the oil, ask a blessing for your mother. So I wrote to the oil, faxed it in, and forgot about it. 2 days later, I get a telephone call from this woman's other daughter. She says, I'd like to thank you for the miracle. The miracle. She said, the nurses came in the next day
The nurses.
came in
Yeah.
the next day,
Yeah.
started taking off the bandages, and they saw the legs beginning to heal. They don't understand why. The leg healed.
Wow.
Another story I had, that another woman who was not, she wasn't Jewish, I saw one day she was sitting and she was depressed. I said, well, why are you depressed? My husband is sick. He had, he had cancer. Whatever. So I told her about the Rebbe, gave her a picture of the Rebbe. I said, I will write to the oil for you, ask for a blessing. So thank you very much. Again, never said it's not my religion. So I wrote to the Rebbe, and the husband became better. He became better. And then whenever I would go to the oil, I would tell her, I'm going to the oil, I'll ask your blessing. Thanks very much. And one day she said to me, I have more feelings for your Rebbe than I do for my leader. Yeah. So there was this is a funny story. I used to give out every Friday the L'chaim magazine.
Mm-hmm.
And then on Hanukkah, I would give out the menorahs.
Yeah.
And before Pesach, I would sell chametz for the Jews that were going to the Jews. So I'd been given this particular woman for 4 years, every Friday, the L'chaim magazine. Comes before Pesach. And I'd done this probably 3 times with her already. I said, it's before Pesach, and we have to sell a chametz. No problem. She can I ask you a question? Sure. She says, I'm not Jewish. I said, in that case, give me the matzah back. It costs money. It costs money, but the l'chaim you can keep. Imagine, never asked. And then they had another guy. This guy had a Jewish name because we put our nameplates up. So I had an idea he was Jewish. So one day I go over before Pesach with matzah and the l'chaim, and I said, are you Jewish? And he says, I used to be. I said, no, once you're Jewish, you're Jewish. I'm not even discussing it. I have some matzah. Oh, he said, if it's food, I'll take it. So he took the matzah, he took the l'chaim, and then after that, it was much easier.
Uh-huh.
So,